Every Christmas, families revisit the Nutcracker as a swirl of sugar plums and innocence. But the original 1816 story hid a nightmare. A world where bodies are rewritten, identities stolen, and a child's gift is really a curse. ETA. Hoffman's Lost Core, the fairy tale of the hard nut, revealed the real engine behind the magic: permanent transformation, disfigurement, and love that breaks the moment you stop being beautiful. Why did the world erase the darkest part of this holiday classic? Most of us remember the Nutcracker as a sweet Christmas ballet, cute toy soldiers, sugar plum and falling snow. The image is cozy and familiar, but the original core story is darker. In 1816, a Prussian writer named E.T. Hoffmann published a story that would become the blueprint for every Nutcracker adaptation to come. The original title, Der Nutcracker und der Mauserkönig, appeared in a German collection of fairy tales decades before Tchaikovsky's music or the first Christmas ballet. Hoffmann's tale is not a simple holiday fable. At its core sits an episode most people have never read: the embedded fairy tale of the hard nut. This internal story, told by the mysterious Drosselmeyer as a bedtime account, is where the real darkness lives. Here, Hoffmann lays out the rules of transformation, the mechanics of curses, and the price of breaking them. The hard nut backstory is not a side plot or an afterthought. It is the engine that drives the entire narrative. It explains why the Nutcracker looks the way he does and why his world is shaped by loss and exile. Later versions, especially the ones that reach theatres and living rooms each December, almost always cut or soften this section. But in the first edition, the hard nut is central, relentless, and explicit about what happens when a person is turned into a thing. The evidence sits in the text itself. Hoffmann's original is not a tale of toys coming to life. It is a document of transformation horror, preserved in print long before it was ever staged or sanitized. A girl named Marie receives a wooden Nutcracker as a Christmas present. That night, her family's parlor transforms into a battlefield. Toys spring to life. An army of mice pours from beneath the floorboards, led by a mouse king crowned with 7 tiny golden coronets. The Nutcracker, battered but brave, rallies the toy soldiers and faces the mouse king in a midnight struggle. Marie intervenes, hurling her slipper to save the Nutcracker from defeat. After the battle, the story drifts into a dream. Marie follows the Nutcracker into a world where sweets grow on trees and everything is ruled by the logic of childhood imagination. The lines between waking and dreaming blur. In this enchanted kingdom, the Nutcracker is no longer a toy. He appears as a handsome prince, guiding Marie through marzipan palaces and rivers of spun sugar. The Mouse King's threat lingers, but the mood is lighter, filled with dances and pageantry. This is the version most people know. Its familiar shape comes from Alexandre Dumas' 1844 retelling, which softened Hoffmann's edges and made the tale friendlier for children. Nearly 50 years later, the 1892 ballet by Tchaikovsky, Petipa, and Ivanov drew directly from Dumas, not Hoffmann. The ballet's dazzling spectacle and holiday setting turned the story into a seasonal ritual. What survives is the outer frame, the child, the gift, the battle, the dream. The darkness at the center is hidden, replaced by sugar plums and snowfall. Princess Pirlipat was born into royalty, surrounded by splendor and expectation. Her beauty was the pride of the court, her future mapped out in admiration and privilege. But the Mouse Queen, Madame Mouserings, harbored a grudge against the royal family, a grudge that would be paid in flesh. On the day of Pirlipat's christening, Mouserings unleashed her revenge. The transformation was immediate and merciless. Pirlipat's head swelled to grotesque proportions, her mouth stretched from ear to ear, and enormous teeth jutted out. Where a delicate nose once sat, now there was only a fleshy stump. Her eyes twisted, squinting and green as a cat's. The court recoiled. The queen wept. No one dared look at the princess without shuddering. In Hoffmann's telling, this was not a temporary inconvenience or a lesson in humility. It was a sentence. The princess, once adored, became a living spectacle of shame. Her altered body was a public mark of disgrace, a curse that stripped her of status, affection, and even her claim to humanity. The court's whispers grew cold. Suitors vanished. Pirlipat was hidden away, her presence an embarrassment, her future erased by the shape of her own face. In this world, beauty is a passport. Without it, even a princess becomes invisible, locked in a body that no one wants to see. Hoffmann makes the horror inescapable. To be changed is to be cast out, to lose not just one's looks, but one's place in the world. The cure for Princess Pirlipat's curse demanded precision beyond reason. Only the rare Krakatuk nut could undo the Mouse Queen's revenge, and only if cracked by a youth who met every condition. Teeth strong enough to break the shell, eyes closed tight, 3 steps backward without stumbling, and the kernel placed gently between the princess's lips. Drosselmeyer's nephew took on the task. He cracked the nut, kept his eyes shut, and counted his steps. As the last step landed, Pirlipat's beauty snapped back into place, her features delicate, her future restored. The moment that should have been triumph instead became disaster. The Mouse Queen's curse rebounded. The youth's arms and legs stiffened, his jaw locked, and his face stretched into a wooden grimace. In an instant, he was no longer a boy but a nutcracker, grotesque, painted, forever altered. There was no gratitude. Pirlipat shrank from him, calling him ugly and demanding he be sent away. The court obeyed. Guards dragged the new nutcracker from the palace, doors slammed behind him, and his sacrifice brought him only exile. The savior became an object, not dead, but trapped, stripped of dignity, denied love, and banished for the crime of his changed appearance. The cost of breaking the curse was to become less than human, discarded by those he saved. Marie's world splits in two, the vivid reality she remembers and the version her family insists is true. She describes the midnight battle, the mice, the living toys, every detail sharp in her mind. Her parents shake their heads, blaming fever and childish fantasy. The doctor prescribes rest, not answers. Each time Marie tries to speak, her story is brushed aside, treated as evidence of frailty or imagination gone wild. The harder she holds to her memory, the more alone she feels, trapped between what she knows happened and the silence demanded by adults. In Hoffmann's tale, the cost of witnessing magic is not wonder, but isolation. Her truth is erased by disbelief, her sense of self quietly undermined. In Hoffmann's world, appearance is more than surface. It is a kind of moral currency, traded for acceptance, love, and even the right to belong. The moment Drosselmeyer's nephew is transformed into the Nutcracker, his worth collapses. Despite his sacrifice, he is labeled ugly, cast out, and treated as an object. The court that once celebrated Pirlipat's beauty now recoils from the Nutcracker's wooden face. Restoration of beauty means restoration of status, and loss of beauty means instant disposability. The story offers no comfort or redemption for those who look wrong. Instead, it exposes a system where the value of a person is measured by how easy they are to look at, and where compassion vanishes the moment that standard is broken. We remember the Nutcracker as a sweet Christmas ballet, cute toy soldiers, sugar and snow. It is the image handed down to us, cozy and musical, and almost everyone knows that picture. But the original is a nightmare dressed as a toy. The source text is by E.T.A. Hoffmann from 1816, and its core is permanent transformation, disfigurement, and identity being stolen or replaced. The real Nutcracker is not mainly about dancing. The real Nutcracker is about a curse that turns a person into a thing, and what that does to love, dignity, and selfhood. The smoking gun is an embedded backstory that most versions cut. Hoffman includes a long tale, often called the fairy tale of the hard nut, that explains why nutcrackers look the way they do. Later adapters, and especially the ballet tradition that grows out of Alexandre Dumas and then Tchaikovsky, omit or soften that section. That is why most people never hear the disturbing origin. On the surface, the plot people think they know is clean and simple. A child, Marie in Hoffman, receives a nutcracker. A battle with the Mouse King erupts. The nutcracker becomes central to a dreamlike adventure. That outer frame is the wrapper. The true horror sits inside the explanation of the curse. The first dark core is disfigurement as punishment. In the embedded backstory, the Mouse Queen, Madame Mouserynx, takes revenge by magically deforming Princess Pirlipat, turning her into something grotesque and wrong, with nutcracker-like features. This is not a minor inconvenience. It is humiliation made literal, identity rewritten through the body. The second dark core is transformation of a person into an object. The cure for Pirlipat requires a specific ritual with the Krakatuk nut. When Drosselmeyer's nephew succeeds, the Mouse Queen's revenge flips and the curse lands on him. He is transformed into a nutcracker figure. Crucially, Pirlipat, now restored, rejects him and banishes him. The story's central horror is not death. It is being trapped in a new form and treated as less than human. The third dark core is loss of identity and the uncanny. Hoffman's frame blurs reality and fantasy. Marie experiences events others deny, and she is discouraged from speaking about them. The real terror is not knowing what is real and having your inner truth dismissed until you doubt yourself. Identity loss shows up again and again, in someone turned into an object, in a body rewritten into something monstrous, and in a child pressured to deny their own memory. There is also a harsh social lesson. The embedded backstory makes a point about justice through appearance. Society rewards restored beauty and punishes ugliness, even when ugliness is the result of sacrifice. The Nutcracker's tragedy is social as much as magical. The moment he becomes wrong, love and status are yanked away and a person becomes disposable. This history is a palimpsest, layered over time. Hoffman in 1816 gives us a dark fairy tale with body horror and identity themes. Alexandre Dumas in 1844 retells it and smooths the edges. By 1892, Tchaikovsky's ballet, adapted from Dumas, becomes the version culture adopts as a Christmas tradition. As the tale gains popularity, it is filtered into sweetness, while the skeleton of transformation remains. So let us debunk the easy beliefs. People say it was always a cute toy adventure. The original engine, however, is curse logic, with disfigurement, permanent transformation into an object, rejection, and exile. People treat the strange backstory as optional. In truth, the fairy tale of the hard nut explains the nutcracker's form and the story's point. It is often omitted, but it is central to Hoffman's meaning. The thesis is this: the nutcracker endures because it hides a brutal fear inside a festive wrapper. You can be changed against your will and then loved less because of it. The nutcracker is not a toy that became real. It is a person who became a toy and had to earn the right to be human again. Even now, we celebrate a story built on the fear of losing ourselves and being judged for what we become. As society still equates worth with appearance, Hoffman's warning echoes louder than ever. Sometimes, the sweetest traditions hide the hardest truths. What do you see behind the mask?